Hello there and welcome to today's vlog. Thanks so much for joining me. Well, I'm recording this vlog on the day when the nation is marking 1 year since the beginning of the first lockdown. What a extraordinary 12 months we've experienced. I wonder how many, if any, thought that 12 months on from a year ago, we'd still be living in a kind of lockdown. There still would be uncertain about when things will really open up and we'll be able to move towards getting back to some sort of normality. And it's right that we should remember in our thoughts and prayers all those who have been so severely affected by the pandemic, not only in the UK but around the world. So many people have died, so many families left mourning, so many people still struggling with the effects of coronavirus. So it's right that we pause and remember those people in our prayers. Maybe some of us have experienced personally the trauma of the last 12 months, and all of us, of course, have been impacted in different ways, and for some of us it's been really, really hard. When I was a young Christian, in fact when I was growing up really within the life of the church, one of the things that was stressed for those who follow Jesus was a daily, what was called a quiet time. And I guess that was from the number of occasions in the Gospels when we read that Jesus went away by himself to a quiet or a lonely place to pray, that the importance of devoting a specific time of each day to building up our fellowship with God, whether that's through reading the scriptures, through prayer, through listening to praise tapes, or different ways, that we don't squeeze God out of our daily life, which we can be tempted to do, especially when life is so busy. And maybe one of the positives of this last 12 months is that when we've had to keep in our homes, we've maybe had the opportunity for more time focused specifically on God. And although that the theme and the idea of the quiet time did almost go out of fashion in some people's eyes, I think it's really, really important that we do carve out a time when we particularly focus on God. Not that the rest of the time we forget God, but our lives have a God focus. And the two daily reading resources that I'm using currently, I've mentioned at least one of them before. One is this book by Simon Guillebaud, Choose Life, 365 readings for radical disciples. So I read that each day. It's quite a challenging book. It's not just one that you read and give assent to, but it's challenging. What are you going to do about it? The other book is a book that my sister Mary bought for me a little while ago, and it's called Jesus Calling. Again, I'd really, really recommend this. In fact, I liked it so much I bought one for a friend of ours, and I'd really encourage it. Just short thoughts for the day and some verses from the Bible that relate to that thought. And again, it makes it very personal. It's an opportunity for us to think about our own life as disciples of Jesus. And though these are written by different people at different times, I don't know if the two authors probably don't even know each other. But the fascinating thing was recently, a few days ago, the theme of the reading for the day and the Bible passage to go with it was the same in both these books. And it's a passage in Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. And this is some words of Jesus that many of us find difficult to put into practice. He said, Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And there's numerous occasions in the Bible we're told, do not be afraid, do not fear. Jesus says, do not worry, do not be anxious, the Bible tells us. Yet some of us struggle with that, don't we? We do become anxious. I'd like to read to you a quote from this book from somebody called Robert Burdett. This is an interesting thought. There are 2 days in the week upon which and about which I never worry, he says. 2 carefree days kept sacredly free from fear and apprehension. One of these days is yesterday. Yesterday, with its cares and frets and pains and aches, all its faults, its mistakes and blunders, has passed forever beyond my recall. It was mine, now it's God's. The other day I do not worry about is tomorrow. Tomorrow, with all its possible adversities, its burdens, its perils, its large promise and performance, its failures and mistakes, is as far beyond my mastery as its dead sister yesterday. Tomorrow is God's day. It will be mine. There is left then for myself but 1 day in the week, today. Anyone can fight the battles of today. Anyone can carry the burdens of just 1 day. Anyone can resist the temptation of today. It is only when we willfully add the burdens of these 2 awful eternities, yesterday and tomorrow, such burdens as only mighty God can sustain, that we break down. It isn't the experience of today that drives people mad. It is the remorse of what happened yesterday and the fear of what tomorrow might bring. These are God's days. Leave them to God. What good advice, isn't it? Because, how many of us spend so long fretting and worrying and being anxious about and regretting maybe things from yesterday, things from our past, that we cannot do anything to change. There has to come a point where we leave them with God. Maybe, yes, we confess something that we've done wrong or something to God, or maybe ask somebody's forgiveness, but we can't carry forever the burdens of what has gone. And in the same way, what is the point of worrying about tomorrow? Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will deal with itself. What our focus should be on is today. And with God's help, we can deal with whatever today will bring to us. And it was so fascinating to discover that the very same theme is dealt with by this book, Jesus Calling. God says, trust me 1 day at a time. This keeps you close to me, responsive to my will. Exert your will to trust me in all circumstances. I will equip you to get through this day victoriously as you live in deep dependence on me. Tomorrow is busy worrying about itself. Don't get tangled up in its worry webs. Trust me 1 day at a time. There is that song, isn't there? 1 day at a time, sweet Jesus. And I think both these writers point to something really crucial for us in our life of discipleship, that our focus should be on today, dealing with today, with God's help, with God's guidance, with the empowerment and infilling of the Holy Spirit. We live each day in its wholeness, and don't spend time and energy fretting about yesterday, worrying about tomorrow. That's sometimes not as easy done as it is said, but it is what Jesus calls us to. It's what the Bible instructs us how to live. And we are called to trust in God, put our trust in him. He will give us strength for each new day. So God bless you. Thank you so much for listening.